I didn't do that. You did that. And so thank you very much for all of your effort. In 1999, Carlo Rossi was introduced to Poland. We sold in that year 180,000 cases of Carlo Rossi, or 180,000 bottles, excuse me, of Carlo Rossi. In the last 25 years, that number has only continued to grow and grow until today. It is the largest wine brand in Poland, and again, thanks to all of you. Now, I think you should watch this. That's amazing. And and I have to thank you. I'm amazed that I got to come here today. This isn't in the script, but I want to say I love Poland. I love Warsaw. I want to come back. So keep selling Carlo Rossi. A little bit about me. I started making Carlo Rossi 12 years ago. Just finished my 13th vintage. We had an amazing vintage in 2024. I think everyone always wants to kind of know about what was that vintage like. It was a lighter vintage. We had 2 years of amazing wet, rainy weather, so we had that was a really good start for us. We had a fairly cool spring, and then we had a fairly warm summer. That summer has led to a little bit smaller berries and a little bit less crop. But from the beginning, the flavors and the intensity, from French Colombard to White Zinfandel to Moscato to Barbera to Ruby Cabernet, all of those, the flavors and the intensity was amazing from the get-go. And so, every vintage for a winemaker is different. And we always like to tell a little story about the vintage. I will say winemakers are a little bit blind, and we always think the next vintage is better than the last. And that's just kind of how we are. That's kind of how we work. So I started 12 years ago. I've been a winemaker for 40 years. And I'll tell you, I didn't know 40 years ago if that was going to work out or not. 40 years ago, maybe 39 years ago, I bought my first house. I bought a lawnmower. And I bought a lawnmower just in case I had to go into the gardening business. I didn't know that it would last. I didn't know that I would be a winemaker for 40 years. Now, I've made wine in the Napa Valley for 10 years. But I love making Carlo Rossi wine because I know that there are so many consumers around the world who drink Carlo Rossi. And I'll say this with a little tongue-in-cheek. It's almost easier to make a $100 bottle of of Cabernet Sauvignon out of Napa than it is to make wine for the hundreds of millions of people that drink wine around the world of Carlo Rossi. And it's Carlo Rossi, thank you. I do remember the first time it really hit me that I wanted to be that winemaker because sometimes you ask people, what do you want to be when you grow up? I don't think anyone ever thinks they want to become the winemaker for Carlo Rossi. I think maybe they want to own their own brand. But I kept walking into the stores and I see Carlo Rossi on the shelf everywhere. And that was what drove me to want to be the winemaker for Carlo Rossi, and then to continue to drive the quality of that wine so that everybody could enjoy it. Now, because we're here for 25 years, we are also here to celebrate the Winemaker Selection. 2 new wines for Carlo Rossi, the Carlo Rossi Dark and the Carlo Rossi Golden White. Those are wines that are grown in the Central Valley. The Carlo Rossi Dark is crafted with Barbera, Ruby Cabernet, Zinfandel, Merlot, and a little bit of Pinot Noir. The Golden White has French Colombard, Chardonnay, and a touch of Moscato. And both of those wines really exhibit the characteristics that we get from the varietals out of the vineyard itself. And for me, that is really what we want to do. We want to make expressive wines that really exhibit those characters that we're getting out of the vineyard. And I got to tell you, when I'm walking, one of my favorite parts about winemaking has nothing to do with being in the winery. It's actually being in the vineyard and walking through the vineyard. And I know there's pictures of me behind me in that vineyard. And I just love to reach out and grab a berry and taste it, and reach out and grab a berry and taste it. And I don't think there's anything better of a winemaker's life than to spend that time in the winery and then to see those products come through and be on the shelves and make those wines is an amazing thing. So we have a great night in store for you tonight. I'm going to hand over the business to Magic right here. He's got a little wine business that he wants to show. He's got a little PowerPoint presentation that's going to show you how well we're doing in Poland and how that growth is happening. So I'm going to hand it over to you.
Dziękuję bardzo.